Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to an episode of my F1 2019 Career Mode, episode number 123 today for the Mexican Grand Prix in Season 6. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Japanese Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A very intense race, that one. A lot of wheel banging, contact made, even a spin, and some thrills around Suzuka. But in the end, we reigned supreme with a very crucial win to tuck us into this GP. Mexico will potentially be a difficult one. You know, it's not going to be as bad as the Italian Grand Prix, but you do have such a long main straight. There's no way we don't suffer a little bit, but we will be able to make time up in sectors 2 and 3, unlike Italy, where pretty much everywhere we were losing time. So it won't be as bad as that, but Italy, of course, as a result for the whole team was pretty poor, so hopefully it can't get any worse than that was. But, you know, the likes of Verstappen and Butler will have to try and come back. Verstappen very much has been on the back foot for the last few episodes, so he needs a great one, and Butler had a bit of a quiet one last race, so he might kind of play a bit more pivotal part. And as ever, that same teammate battle has been going on since episode number 1 of this season between myself and Lucas Weber will continue on. And really, I guess last episode, almost you could say the gloves came off. Last episode, there were quite a fair few moments where the kind of pot boiled over, I guess you could say, between myself and Weber. And if you remember nicely, here at the Mexican GP, for 2 seasons in a row, Weber has tried to actively spin me round in Sector 2. So let's see how that one goes out this time round. But first and foremost, it's time for qualifying. Let's go to Saturday and see how we do over one lap.
Welcome to qualifying here in Mexico, where the cars will be going out on track very shortly and battling it out to secure pole for tomorrow's Grand Prix.
Now then, Anthony Davidson, you're not getting any younger, but you have been involved in your fair share of qualifying sessions in an illustrious 30-year career. How do you deal with the pressure when you have that one chance to deliver a perfect lap?
It's not so much about dealing with the pressure, it's more about how you approach the risk and just how much of it are you willing to take. You're constantly balancing the car on the edge of grip from braking, cornering and traction. And over the course of a lap, it's easy to get that balance wrong. And that's why achieving the perfect lap is almost impossible. As you say, I've been doing this 30 years now, and it never gets any easier.
Right, so barreling into turn 1, then probably losing the most time I will in this entire lap before getting down into the brake zone of that turn, then through the fast left, and then right trying to get the best exit we can there, using plenty of curb on the exit, open DRS, and all things considered, that's pretty decently navigated. Then Sector 2 and Sector 3, this is where our car should be pretty strong, you know, nice change of direction. Our car has always been pretty good this season in the mid-apex, kind of carrying that speed and momentum, and so it's just about really the first sector, not losing too much time there, and kind of making up for it in those, you know, where it counts basically. And so up into P3 with our first flying lap there, ahead of Weber, Verstappen on provisional pole. We now start our second and only other flying lap here, because the way it ran with Mexico is I actually started my lap a little bit later in the session, and then the track got a little bit busy, and then kind of, you know, went quiet, and so I came out, but then to my dismay, it got busy the second IELTS went out. So I had traffic there with Lando Norris in the McLaren, and I've also got Grosjean here. I'm up on my time by about 3, nearly 4 tenths here, so it's been a very good first sector and start of the second sector, but now you're about to see absolutely just eroded here with Grosjean's dirty air, holds me up on the apex on the left hand side, and that is the entire lap blown there thanks to the Frenchman. So thanks for nothing, Romain Grosjean. So that's my qualifying over, because there's less than a minute left. And so in hindsight, I probably should have gone a lot earlier with both my runs, but it was just the ebb and flow of everyone doing it at the same time. I went out at the same time as everyone else, but just got very unlucky with this second attempt with the traffic there. So that is it. Bit of a calamity there for us. A big mistake on the timing there, and we're down in P6. Devin Butler on provisional pole as it stands. I believe Weber and Verstappen have out-qualified us as well and gone even better. And so we look at the full grid results then. Devin Butler in first place. Pole position yet again for the Red Bull man there, and then Lucas Weber is taking our P2 slot that we've had for the last 3 episodes there, so at least the Renault still maintain that second place for the 4 episodes now on the starting grid. Verstappen in third, so all 3 of my rivals in the top 3, me in P7. It's just not good enough. It was a mistake, but I can't really do much now. You know, we're in P7, so that's my lucky number P7, so maybe that will give us some good you know, vibes going into the race, maybe potentially. The race is going to be tricky. One, that main straight's going to be difficult. I feel feel like we're going to be a sitting duck with DRS if people behind us have DRS. And then also, this is actually one of the few circuits still with the maxed out cars that tyre wear is an issue. Just due to the nature of the circuit, the way the graining is, tyre wear will be a factor today. So that's hopefully something we can play on potentially. But also remember, the Renault in earlier races this season wasn't too great on its tyres. So it also might be, that actually might be another kind of hindrance to us. We'll have to see. Let's go to the grid and see what we do on Sunday.
The air may be thin here in Mexico City. The atmosphere is anything but. The crowd have been chanting and singing, not just this afternoon, but throughout the entire weekend. There's a great love for Formula One here, and no small amount of expectation. Let's hope today's Grand Prix can meet it. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, 2.6 miles of track that allows drivers to take full advantage of their cars, reaching speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and providing lots of opportunities for overtaking. The circuit features 17 corners, 10 to the right and the remaining 7 going to the left. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Let's talk about the engineer. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Devon Butler put in a fantastic lap yesterday and will start from pole position. And starting alongside is Lucas Faber. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Perez, Stroll, Lewis Hamilton, the engineer, Gasly, Russell, Norris, and Antonio Giovinazzi, Leclerc, Hülkenberg, Max Verstappen, and Kvyat, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Valtteri Bottas, and Roman Grosjean. Magnussen and Sebastian Vettel starts from the back of the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So here we are then on the grid in P6, not P7, as we've been elevated one position, all thanks to, yet again, in the last few episodes, Ferrari and Verstappen being handed a slap in the face, this time for an engine penalty for changing components. Probably due, because I think Butler has changed components once. I don't believe either me or Weber have. That's because our reliability has been so great, because we maxed that out very early on this season. But Ferrari and for Verstappen, that's exactly the opposite of what he needed. He needed a good result today. I'm talking like a top 3 minimum, but really, honestly, he needed a P2 or a P1 today. For us, it's all going to be about making our way through on this 2-stop, then 2 sets of soft tyres to mediums, and hoping that Weber and Butler at the front end can maybe fight a lot so they don't get away, because if they don't fight enough, I feel like they're both just going to pull away like they kind of have done, and like we have done as a kind of top 4 in the championship every single time. All 4 of us appear to be in a world of our own once we settle down for race pace. So if that happens today, we might be in hot water in terms of losing quite a few points. So let's hope for like a chaotic start, I guess, and a fast one for us, but I know that run down to turn 1's going to be pretty treacherous for us, especially in the Renault this season. But here we go then to 5 red lights to the Mexican Grand Prix. Our 2 rivals on the front row, second and first. 5 red lights are out and we're underway. It's initially a good getaway there compared to Hamilton, but ahead of us, Stroll streaks away and gets a great toe off Butler. They're likewise for Russell in the other Red Bull there on my right-hand side. Gasly's also overtaken us in the Racing Point car into turn 1. Butler down to 3rd, and Russell with a massive dive down the inside. He makes some contact with Hamilton, but we're down to P8. We send it back down the inside of our fellow Brit and our ex-teammate from last season, and we get back up into P7, but 1 position lost then. Devon Butler leads the way then ahead of Lando Norris in the McLaren in 2nd place. 3rd place is then Lucas Weber, so both of us lost at least 1 position at the start, but we're going to gain, well, again, that position back essentially as we send it now to the inside, the double right-hand to get the elbows very much out there on Pierre Gasly. Sorry, mate, I know you did me a solid a few races ago at the Singapore Grand Prix, but there's no time for memories like that. We need to get going and make a move. So we're up into P6 then, and straight away pressurising Lewis Hamilton then as we move on to lap number 4 with a purple first sector. So that's pretty damn good. That actually shows you how slow the cars ahead of us are going, because look at the minimap. Devon Butler is dominating this GP then. Lap number 5 as we come through in the 2nd sector. I've had enough, and I'm getting impatient, trying to wait behind Hamilton here and trying to make a move that's not going to work in the first sector. We need to try and get this done in the second or third as we now try and swing through left and right, just going every direction based on the circuit, trying to make some sort of carve path through Hamilton. It's not working. Through the last corner, so much understeered that now Gasly gets it back down the inside. I tried it, Hamilton held me up so much there that I just basically jumped the gun a little bit into that entry point there, and that corner is very understeery anyway, let alone if you just go in too hot and trying to avoid the wall on the outside there. So we're back down to P7. Very frustrating times as now Gasly makes a move on Hamilton. We're going to get in there and make it 3 wide into this corner. Very unorthodox place to really make it 3 wide, but we make it work. On the exit though, snap of oversteer. Hamilton gets us back. This is really a massive fight between myself, Hamilton and Pierre Gasly. This time now on the outside into sector 2. The long way around, turns to the inside for the next right-hander, and we finally get the job done. And we're up into P5 there, but that was already way too much time wasted. The gap now is quite large to Stroll there ahead of us, who's just behind Lucas Weber. Second place then is Lando Norris, like I mentioned, but as I was saying before we started fighting Hamilton so abruptly there, that is Devin Butler, and he's miles away already, so he's dominating this GP, and to be honest, I can probably already guarantee he's probably checked out for this race win, unfortunately for us, and so maybe the highest we're going to aim for is P2, but let's see what the pace is like for Weber, because right now he's fighting Lando Norris for P2, but he's also got Stroll behind him, so Weber tried to go for P2, but he actually might end up losing P3 as the Canadian goes on the outside in his Ferrari there. He gets the nose in, and it's going to be a pretty sweet move, and he really pushes the boat out there to force the German wide, and so the Canadian is up into P3. Obviously the first Ferrari man, because Verstappen's still way down the order outside the points at this stage of the GP, I believe there, so flying the flag for the Scuderia, and he's up into the podium slots. Weber now is just ahead of me on track, but of course still a bit of time to find to close up to him, but with the clean air, it's only a matter of time, but hopefully I can close him up. In terms of the setup I'm running, maybe compared to Weber, we're running lower wings in comparison to what the AI usually do on default to try and make up for the lack of straight line speed like we did in Italy, and that may prove useful for us as we now are within 1 second of our German teammate on lap number 10 then, probably 2 or 3 laps away from the pit stop window. Ahead of us though, massive scrap between Stroll and I've been calling him Lando Norris the entire time. It's actually Sergio Perez, so my bad Sergio, but Perez down to 3rd place then, but nevertheless a McLaren down to 3rd, and the Ferrari now in 2nd place, so showing what could have been for Max Verstappen here in 2nd place. I'm sure at this stage Verstappen would have already been past these cars and would have been chasing after Butler, but instead look at the minimap once again as an update. Butler still miles ahead, and now we have a little look on the outside of Weber. He's very slow, but he's going to squeeze us out, and so it's very frustrating times here, kept behind our teammate, and so I'm going to make a late call here. I'm going to come into the end of this same lap for the pit stop there, a little bit earlier than maybe I wanted to. I thought maybe about stretching it, but to be fair, my engineer actually called me in this lap. He said this was the kind of, the normal planned lap we had at the start of the race. I was actually planning on maybe stretching the tyre for a little bit longer, just to give us a little bit of leeway later on the Grand Prix, but we strap on a set of medium wall tyres in, so that's another difference. So we come in earlier than I wanted to, and we've also strapped on a set of medium tyres. So originally our plan was soft, medium. We've now gone soft, medium, and I'll be planning to go to the soft tyre at the end, because I just want to be a little bit quicker at the end, lower fuel, the fastest tyre available. I think that'll be useful, especially if we're in an instance like we were just before the pit stop, where we've got traffic to try and pass, cars to make some late overtakes for some late crucial points and positions. I think we're going to want that softer compounded tyre, so that's why we've gone for that difference there. On that outlap though, catching up to the man who ruined our entire qualifying effort, Romain Grosjean, going to embarrass him in sector 2 and overtaking very easily then, and now we can try and press on and try and catch up to Weber, and it's a question mark of where he's going to be out the pit lane then, and the answer to be still right ahead of us then on track, so he didn't lose too much time then with that extra tyre wear going 1 lap longer. He's put on a set of soft tyres, so that's the difference there between myself and him. So if we do lose pace to Weber in this stint, I won't be too disheartened, because he should technically be faster on that compounded tyre, and we might actually have to just try and play a long game, because by the time we get to the end of his stint, then my tyres will technically be faster because they'll be worn out less, even though it's a slower compound. But he overtakes George Russell, who's still on a set of softs there, so can we try and just navigate him as quickly as possible? He's going to hold us up quite a fair bit through that hairpin in the stadium section, through the last corner. Look at that, he's absolutely mobile chicane there through the last corner. He comes in anyway, so we lose a decent amount of time there to Weber as he now streaks down the road. But to be fair, it's not all bad news, because look at that. We've overtaken Sergio Perez, who's come out to a set of hard tyres. So Perez trying a one-stop then, it would appear like, at his home Grand Prix. And with that, he had to go longer on the softs to make that work. And so we've jumped him. So technically, we should be in a net P3 position once we've actually overtaken this man right here. Daniel Ricciardo in the other Mercedes already had issues overtaking his teammate. This time I'm going to not muck about, go down the inside straight away there, be very aggressive indeed, and get up into that third position. So 2-3 for Renault, and once again it's a 1-2-3 for 3 people involved in the championship. The only one missing is Max Verstappen, and there he is. Speaking of the devil, he's now caught up. He's in P4 here now, and on lap 16 you can see we're in non-ERS. He's on the soft tire, and we're just going to lift off into turn 1, let him go by down the inside, and we're going to stick behind him, because Verstappen, he is legit here. He's made up the time, and he's been pretty rapid. Like I said, Lance Stroll showed very good pace at the start of that race, and in the hands of Verstappen, this car is even quicker than in the hands of Lance Stroll. So that's his actual pace. He's come and caught us up, but the reason I let him by so easily is we've got to play the tactical game here. I am on the slower tyre. I really won't be able to keep up with these guys. So the most I can do is do what I did all the way back at episode 1 of this season, and just stick in the toe of Verstappen. Basically, within 1 second, get DRS every time. Because remember, I'm going to gain time on him, or pretty much equal the time in Sector 2 and 3, because what the car doesn't have in a straight line and doesn't have in tyre wear, I'll be able to make up with the actual car performance in the corners and my own driving in Sector 2 and 3. And then in the straights, every time I'm able to save some fuel, save some ERS, and still keep up with the Ferrari, who's essentially dragging me along like a horse and carriage towards, like was the case Australia episode 1 this season, Lucas Weber. So it's pretty much deja vu from many episodes ago now, almost a month ago now since the episode came out, and we're basically now slowly but surely catching up to Weber along with Verstappen, and then we wait for our right opportunity to pounce and overtake Verstappen, and then hopefully also get Weber. And then remember, of course, as the laps go on, my tyres will be getting better than their tyres technically, so I'll be in an even better position to do that. And that's going to be just about now, lap 19. We're only about 2 laps away, I would say, from Verstappen and Weber making their pit stop for a set of medium tyres to take them to the end of the Grand Prix. I'm going to about lap 25, and that should be me to the end of the Grand Prix on a set of soft tyres for 10 laps. So pretty good timing as of late, and we are catching them already with George Russell now out of the Grand Prix. But now that is a massive spanner in the works, because the full course yellow safety car is out on lap number 19. Now that throws that entire form guide out the window here, because this is a free pit stop. And well, let's think about the numbers here. These two ahead of us, Weber and Verstappen, they were going to make a pit stop anyway in about 2 laps time for medium tyres to the end of the Grand Prix. So I may as well come in with them, get the free pit stop, because if I stay out, I'm going to lose out. I'm going to lose out on a free pit stop. So I've come in for a set of medium tyres. We're going to have to double stack with Weber. So we will lose time, because the German's going to hold me up here, because you can see there my pit crew are going to wait. Finally, we can get work on, but we're going to put on another set of yellow wall tyres, and that will see us through to the end of the Grand Prix. We won't lose out with the free pit stop. Yes, we've technically lost out maybe about, I don't know, I'd say 2-3 seconds, and technically I think that's 1 or 2 positions maybe on the road to Verstappen and Weber. But in hindsight, remember, if you think about it, if we stayed out and then pit on lap 25 whilst racing and resumed, I would have been right up, bunched up to everyone, and would have had to still make a pit stop for those soft tyres. So this was the correct call, but either way, even though it's the correct call, it's still going to screw me over, because that safety car was the worst time safety car for me. If it came out on lap 25, that would have been absolute glory. But the fact it came out on lap 19, literally, like I said, 2 laps away from when everyone's going to make their pit stop naturally anyway for a set of mediums to end the Grand Prix, that has massively screwed me over, and that changes this entire race dynamic then, because Verstappen, Weber, they're a little bit further up the road now, so they've now got more hurdles between myself and them. And then also, what's Devin Butler doing? I'm not too sure. I think he's still in the lead. I don't know if he's pit under this safety car, so that also might be something to look at and watch out for. Because then here we are then, lap 22 in P12. I believe Verstappen and Weber are a little bit further up in P7 and 8, I think, and Devin Butler is indeed still in the lead of this Grand Prix. I'm not too sure if he pit or not, because he had a massive gap, so he may have pit for a second time and still came out in the lead because due to how much he was dominating this entire Grand Prix. We'll have to kind of check on that later. But here we go then on the restart. It's a pretty mediocre one, to be fair, but it's quite difficult to get a decent jump on AI around Mexico on the restart of a safety car. But we're going to try and lunge around the outside of the Russian in the Alfa Romeo. Dan Fiat there locking up into turn 1 and to up into P11. And now can we close up to Lando Norris in the next few laps? Like I said, there's quite a few cars ahead of him as well between myself, Verstappen and Weber. So this is going to be a massive fight back here. 13 laps of straight pushing in Sector 2 now. Having a look at Norris there. We've cut the curb a little bit there, I can't lie, but we put him off a little bit by sticking the nose in, and we're up into P10. And then we close up to Raikkonen, my very first teammate in this career mode. Then in the Alfa Romeo, trimming down the inside. He's on the hard tire. We should have the advantage here. Down the inside we go. Easy does it into P9, and the same for Hulkenberg up ahead on the hard tires. So we should have the advantage here, because I feel like all these guys on hard tires, they did what Perez did, and they pit, for a one stop basically. So these tires will be quite worn for them, I think, and they would have been on them for quite a while. And ahead, you can see there's actually a massive gaggle. We go down the inside of 2, and oh my god, we've gone down the inside and hit Verstappen, and I don't quite believe it, but if you guys remember correctly, that is literally the same kind of incident that Weber had on me for 2 seasons in a row, and I'm in a Renault now. So I've literally done what he's done for 2 seasons, season 4 and 5. Weber's been in a Renault and taken me out, or tried to take me out, or tried to spin me almost, or hit me at least, on the side pod and the rear tyre, just like that, for 2 seasons in a row. And now I'm the one that's done it in the Renault, on a Ferrari, of all people. Obviously, I was in the Ferrari last season. That is... yeah, very, very odd, and I found that very, very funny in the cockpit at the time, but that's because everyone bunched up so much there with the traffic. And so either way, anyway, we're up into P7, and we're trying to close up now on Verstappen. And I mentioned a lot of traffic just there. Well, if you look at the top right, we've actually moved forward 4 laps, and we're still in the exact same position on laps in P7 here. Verstappen P6, we have a little look around the outside, but like we had earlier when I tried to look around the outside of Hamilton, that actually works to our disadvantage here, as Norris now has a great run in the McLaren. He's got DRS open. We've kind of cut him off there on the right. But yeah, we've been stuck in P7 for 4 laps, as has Verstappen in P6. Weber ahead of him, the other Ferrari of Stroll ahead of him, because everyone's in a DRS train now. That kind of classic F1 2019 DRS and slipstream train, which for the most part you kind of avoid a lot of the time in career mode, because there's obviously tyre wear, a lot of different strategies playing out, and generally with the career mode upgrades you don't get it too often. But there was literally a deadlock of no one overtaking anyone for those 4 laps there, and by the time we get to lap 30, basically getting a little bit impatient. And so I'm hoping we can try and make some moves and try and force a move somewhere. So as we now move on to lap number 30, 6 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Verstappen getting a toe off Weber, and he might even make a move as Weber goes defensive to the inside. That might leave us some space on the outside there to make a late roll of the car and roll the dice to send it to the inside. And somehow we've come out unscathed and make that worse. So like I said, just try to force a move through. Definitely wasn't a move that Verstappen had, any kind of idea about, but, he kind of got caught napping behind Lucas Weber, and we're able to make that work into turn 2. And now, speaking of the German, we're now up behind him, who's he's finding difficulty getting past Stroll, even with DRS. And so can we try and once again force a move then on Lucas Weber, this time to the next brake zone? He moves under braking, and we narrowly miss making contact down the inside. We're now side by side going the long way around, but Weber has got the nose still in there on the right. He has a great brake zone through the next double right-hander, and so we're still toe-to-toe to drag race there. He's got the acceleration, but we've got the inside line now into Sector 2. We're still side by side. This is absolutely wonderful racing there, but we're going to squeeze Weber out finally to get up the position. Verstappen close behind now. I get a little bit wide on the exit though, so Weber tries to close up again. Weber there on the left, and he's going to make a massive dive bomb on the outside, and he's actually made it work into the next hairpin. Max Verstappen with the double pass on both us Renault cars there. What a dive bomb from that man. Now, I basically got flustered of realising he was still there on the outside. I thought for sure I would have squeezed him out going to the stadium section, but he's made it work, and he's up into P5 then, so he's mugged off both us Renaults. We now go try and break the toe from Weber and then get back in the slipstream of Verstappen. Verstappen with the DRS open, gaining, but probably not enough. We have a little lunge attempt, but it really didn't work as Verstappen had that completely covered. And now lap 23, Verstappen is pulling away, and Norris is looking pretty damn quick. We know how quick the McLaren has been this season in a straight line, and in general as well. Has had some flashes of some decent pace there, and Norris has legit fully overtaken me. We need to try and work out how we can get him back now. He's got DRS for the second bite of the cherry, but we still get a good slipstream into this next corner. Norris very slow mid-apex, and we're just going to let the car roll through and thread it like a needle down the inside. Lovely little rear overtaking move back up into P6, but I don't know how often we can do that now, because we're very much now not catching Verstappen anymore. We're looking behind us for another lap, the second last lap of the Grand Prix. Norris back down the inside here. Weber, thankfully, at least for me, is not kind of attacking us, so at least we don't need to worry about that. But this is still, crucial points to lose potentially at this very end of this Grand Prix, even though we will obviously still gain on Weber by being either P6 or 7. But at this stage, then, still trying to do the best job we can at finishing P6. But as we move through onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, then Norris tucked up right behind us. We go to the right to try and break the slipstream, but the fellow Brit is on the left-hand side there, and he flies past with DRS for the last lap of the Grand Prix. This is where it really counts. We get back in the tow. We have a little look down the inside. He locks up. We're now neck and neck. We made a little bit of contact on the left-hand side. He's still there on the outside. Over the curb, though, on the exit. Massive tank of oversteering. So Lando Norris pulls back alongside and gets the place back on the left-hand side. And even more so, Weber has got a great run on us, and we've only just about managed to defend against our teammates. So on the last lap, so cruelly, we lose P6, and we're going to have to settle down for our original grid slot, which was P7 at this Grand Prix. Although, to be fair, all things considered, it's not been too bad. I think Devin Butler is fully out of the points here, and Verstappen only in, I think, P5 that was in the end. So, all things considered, not too bad, but a very hectic Grand Prix nonetheless.
Top job, my friend, top job. I was a bit worried about this one at the start of the weekend, but you pulled through. Thank you.
That's it for another Grand Prix and a fantastic win for Mercedes. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Without a doubt, the safety car changed everything today. The key to their success was keeping calm and reacting to the situation quickly. We've seen teams in the past throw away wins because they were too hesitant, but here they were decisive, and that's allowed them to take the advantage.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So in the end, Lewis Hamilton then took the win of the Mexican Grand Prix ahead of Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll. Like I mentioned before, we didn't really see it, but Devin Butler, update, if you didn't know where or not he went, he was in first. I was correct the first time. He did not make a pit stop under the safety car, very stupidly from the Red Bull team. And so Butler was leading the way at the safety car restart, but had to make that second pit stop for what would have been a normal pit stop for him, usually without the safety car, for a set of medium tyres, I think it was, or soft tyres. So he actually in the end only came in P10 as he had to make his way back through the order for one measly point. But like I said, even though we lost out at the end there, Verstappen was only in P5, we still finished ahead of Lucas Weber. So in the end, we still retake the lead of the drive. So in the end, we still maintain the lead of the Drivers' Championship and also increase it a little bit to Lucas Weber. Verstappen closes up somewhat to Butler, but really the big loser here was Butler, losing out quite a fair bit to P3. So now you can see it's kind of almost now a two-horse race with us two Renaults. Butler and Verstappen a secondary battle for P3 and 4, but they've of course still got a great chance. You never know. Also, we've got two very difficult races coming up. USA and Brazil historically are quite tough ones, although to be fair, in the last few seasons I've been pretty actually decent at USA and Brazil actually. I guess it's that kind of nature of it being so difficult. I have to try that much harder, and that's paid out for us in past seasons gone by, but it's still by no means kind of, out for those two there. But what is out, and what I didn't realise till the end of this episode, was we've actually mathematically won the Constructors' Championship. So we get handed the trophy here at the end of the episode in the career mode menus for the Constructors' Championship. So we have done the job for Renault Formula 1 team. We've taken them to the top, myself and Weber, in a world of our own really for a lot of this season. And so now I think truly it is gloves are off time. We've done the championship for the team, so they have no reason to not let us race flat out, and whatever happens is going to happen. I'm not saying things going to happen, but whatever happens could happen now between myself and Way, because there's no repercussions for the team. It's all about the Driver's Championship now. So it's going to be a very interesting last 3 episodes. So guys, if you did enjoy this one though, be sure to smash that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do subscribe for weekly full-on content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.